बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी यशोदानंद यशोदानंदन व्रज जन रंजन यशोदानंदन व्रज जन रंजन यमुना तीरा वनचारी यमुना तीरा वनचारी जय राधा माधव जय कुंज बिहारी यशोदानंदन व्रज जन रंजन यशोदानंदन व्रज जन रंजन यमुना तीरा वनचारी जय राधा माधव जय कुंज बिहारी हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे श्री राधा गोकुलानंद की जय।
Hare Krishna,
हरे
everybody. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Please accept my humble obeisances, Madan Gopal Prabhuji. Such a pleasant surprise. Hare Krishna.
I forgot Gopi Jana Ranjana. When somebody asks me, instantly I start to panic.
I'm sorry to ambush you like
No,
that.
no, that's all right. I'm sorry myself. I missed a line.
So as we are waiting for Prabhuji, I have sent him a message, but he hasn't replied. We can start with there he is, he's there, but we can start with the Mangalacharan. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Please accept my humble obeisances with the Prabhu. Okay, I think maybe he might have challenges, but
sorry, I forgot to unmute, or whatever way it's pronounced, unmute, whatever. English is not my first language, so you'll have to forgive me.
It's okay, Prabhu. So we have just started. We just did kirtan in the beginning, and now we would like to do the Mangalacharan. Shall we do it, or Prabhuji, we hand over
Please,
to you?
please. Thank you.
Braj Kishori Mataji, are you able to do the Mangalacharan today for us? Okay, maybe I can do the Mangalacharan. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurulmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Gurum Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavam Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakha Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha
Kripa
Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi
Srivasati Gaura Bhakta
Hare
Hare
Krishna
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna
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 Krishna,
Hare
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 Hare,
Hare
Hare
Rama
Rama,
Hare
Hare Rama,
Rama
Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Jai.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji Danvat Pranam. Please accept
Jai.
our humble obeisances on behalf of everybody who have joined and are about to join. We just had a power outrage in Eldoret, so I don't see a lot of Eldoret devotees because of the reason, but we have Parth Prabhu with us. We also have Madan Gopal Prabhuji all the way from New Jersey, so we welcome them both to this Sangha of tonight. Hare Krishna. We are reading the Srimad Bhagavatam. We are on Canto 1, Chapter 19. Chapter 19 is the appearance of Sukadeva Swami, and the text for today, Prabhuji, is text 8. Then we hand over to you, Prabhuji.
Jai, thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Tatro Pajagnur Bhuvanam Punama Mahanubhava Munaya Sashisha Prayena Tirtha Bigamam Padashai Swayam Hi Tirtani Punanti Santa. Translation. At that time, all the great minds and thinkers, accompanied by their disciples and sages, who could verily sanctify a place of pilgrimage just by their presence, arrived there on the plea of making a pilgrim's journey. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. When Maharaj Parikshit sat down on the bank of the Ganga, the news spread in all directions of the universe, and the great-minded sages who could follow the importance of the occasion all arrived there on the plea of pilgrimage. Actually, they came to meet Maharaj Parikshit and not to take bath of pilgrimage, because all of them were competent enough to sanctify the places of pilgrimage. Common men go to pilgrimage sites to get themselves purified of all sins. Thus, the places of pilgrimage become overburdened with the sins of others. But when such great sages visit overburdened places of pilgrimage, they sanctify the places by their presence. Therefore, the sages who came to meet Maharaj Parikshit were not very much interested in getting themselves purified like common men. But on the plea of taking a bath in that place, they came to meet Maharaj Parikshit, because they could foresee that Srimad Bhagavatam would be spoken by Shukadeva Goswami. All of them wanted to take advantage of the great occasion. Om Gyana Timurandasya Galangana Shalakaya Chaksharam Meditam Jaina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Very nice, very brief purport by Srila Prabhupada, but very succinct in the sense that we all go to India, we all take bath in Ganga or Yamuna or whatever, and especially, I remember the first time I went, we were very much aware of the idea that when you take bath in the Ganga, all your sins are washed away and so on and so forth. And to be quite honest, this was our main purpose for going. That was, I think, 1980 or 81 when we first went from Ireland as new devotees, all very mystical and so on and so forth, being in India for the first time, and then the whole completely different culture. But we weren't the only ones. I mean, there were so many people, so many local people also coming to the places where we went. At that time, we just covered Brindavan and Mayapur. And for Gaur Purnim. But it was just overwhelming, the number of people. This is over, what, 40 odd years ago, 43, 44 years ago. And the number of people who were coming to Mayapur was absolutely astounding. I'd never seen such crowds in my life. I mean, I've been to Wembley and a few times and places like that, but this was like overwhelming. On Gaur Purnim Day, it was like floods of people. And of course, people, we all have our different motivations for attending and going on these pilgrimage sites. But here, it's described how Srila Prabhupada particularly is emphasizing there that the people, the devotees who gathered around Shukadeva Goswami, they themselves individually, every single one of them, they were qualified to purify a place of pilgrimage. Like we were going with our ulterior motive to have our sins washed away, like we do in the Catholic Church when we go to confession once a week and we confess our sins to the priest, and then we go like sweet little angels on a Sunday to the Mass and we take communion, and we do this year after year after year unknowingly. And then of course Sunday night after the Mass and after we've been purified, we all go out to the pub and get drunk. So it's like it's kind of back to normal, and then the next week the cycle continues again and again and again. But there's no ulterior motive on the part of all the great sages and saints who gathered around Shukadeva Goswami. They purified the places of pilgrimage. And Prabhupada said the same thing. When Prabhupada went to Kumbh Mela, 1977, he said the pure devotees, they go to these places to purify the place of pilgrimage. So we go to have our anarthas washed away and our sinful activities washed away. But the pure devotees, they go with a completely different motive. It's interesting how Prabhupada is saying, when Maharaj Parikshit sat down on the banks of the Ganga, the news spread in all directions. Everybody got on their mobile phone, everybody got on their iPhone and their Apple and everything like that, and all the Samsungs were out, but the transcendental vibration was there. It wasn't like that news didn't travel in those days because it was 5,000 years ago. News traveled far and wide. So the news spread very quickly. Everybody knew this is a special occasion. This is not going to be an ordinary meeting. And we see it ourselves when on the occasion when, although it's not strictly recommended, but we do it, particularly when we're in a mood to gather funds to build a new temple or something like that. We ourselves, even in ISKCON, we have Bhagavad Sapta. And we see the big, huge arrangement that's made for the Bhagavad Sapta, and the speaker is invited, and there's a big pomp and ceremony and garlands, and there are yagyas and havans, and at the end there's big feast and so on. And thousands of people gather, even with our little Bhagavad Saptas that we do, or Ram Katha or Krishna Katha, whatever it is we organize. Thousands, hundreds of people gather for those occasions. What to speak of the recitation of the original Bhagavad Sapta, spoken by Shukadeva Goswami, who's repeating, Shuka, the parrot, he's simply repeating what he heard from Srimati Radharani. And the whole cycle then goes on and builds up, builds up, builds up. We're now on the first canto, builds up to the eventually to the 10th canto, the 11th canto, the 12th canto. And we're going to go through a fantastic array of leelas and stories and politics and subterfuge and counterfuge and all this, the Gramya Katha, the Krishna Katha, it's all mixed up. But the final conclusion is from the verse, Krishna's tu Bhagavan Swayam. Krishna is the original supreme personality of Godhead. And it's our duty, our responsibility in this human form of life to eventually reach that conclusion with the help of Guru, with the help of Krishna. There's that wonderful verse that we quote so often. I remember when I started, it seems kind of laughable now, but when I was in Kisumu and Moy made the law that every school has to have the religious teacher of the majority religion in that school. So the Hindu Union, they invited me to come and give lectures and talks, classes every day to all the different students in all the different classes in the Aga Khan, because the majority of the students were Hindu. Although it was a Muslim school, the majority of the students were Hindu. So here you had this ridiculous notion of a Mzungu giving talks on Hinduism in a Muslim school. But, and of course at that time, all everybody every Sunday was watching the Mahabharata. The Mahabharata was on TV every Sunday. Everybody was glued to the TV. So the first thing I did was all these tiny little kids who could hardly walk. They were barely out of nappies. So the first thing I did was I got them all, yada, yada, hidama sha. So I got them all to chant all the mantras that were on the screen every Sunday. And they all went home, reciting these mantras to their parents. So you can imagine the kind of influence you can have over families and the society when you're in that kind of a position and you don't have an ulterior motive. You just want to get the message out there. You just want to spread. Of course, I had to teach Buddhism, and I had to teach Sikhism, and I had to teach Jainism. But then the poor children, they were completely brainwashed. They went home, all the Jain children went home, yes, reciting all the shlokas from Lord Rishabdev. It was the first Tirthankar, and all their parents were very happy. And then the Sikh children, they went home reciting their shlokas. So whatever was suiting those particular children, I would brainwash them to make sure that, everybody was happy. But, it was just an amazing experience. And that was just little old me. What to speak of someone like Shukadeva Goswami gathering with all these sages and saints around him. Maharaj Parikshit is asking the most amazing questions, and he's getting the most incredible answers. And some of the questions that he asks, it's like the conversation between Krishna and Arjun. You wonder sometimes, how could Arjun be so audacious as to ask these questions? He's almost like contradicting what Krishna is saying, but still Krishna is there. He's equipoised, he's balanced, and he's just giving the answer. He's just giving the Siddhanta, giving the conclusion. The same with Shukadeva Goswami and Maharaj Parikshit. They're persons, they're personalities with an individuality that cannot be taken away from them. So if we come across a question, it's our duty, it's our responsibility, it's our obligation to question, no matter who we're speaking to, no matter what the so-called authority is. We have to question. And, that verse 434. I know I just keep ranting on about it, but Prabhupada says in the purport to that verse, it's a very succinct purport, and everybody should know this purport by heart. Prabhupada is saying, if I may quote, One has to approach a bona fide spiritual master to receive the knowledge. Such a spiritual master should be accepted in full surrender, and one should serve the spiritual master like a menial servant without false prestige. But that sounds like this pre-qualification sounds like it's demanding too much. It's a one-sided thing. It would appear to be that way. But Prabhupada qualifies it. He says, satisfaction of the self-realized spiritual master is the secret of advancement in spiritual life. Now, in this verse, Prabhupada goes on to say, both blind following and absurd inquiries are condemned. So we can't be a blind follower. I mean, it doesn't do any good. We always have questions, so we can't, go along, silently. We're not into this idea of monavrat, where we all just sit around and we meditate on the cosmos and it's all one and so on and so forth. That's not our business. We're not interested in that. Prabhupada is saying, not only should one hear submissively from the spiritual master, but this is where the reciprocation comes in. This is where it's a two-way street. But one must also get a clear understanding from him. So this is the same with Shukadeva Goswami and Maharaj Pariksit. Maharaj Pariksit immediately he took the humble position. Yes, he's the king. Imagine, he's the king. He's not only in charge of a small little country like India, he's in charge of the planet. The whole planet was under his control, and nobody questioned his authority, except this silly little Brahmin boy who then, was offended on behalf of his father, but the father was absolutely aghast. The father was so embarrassed, he didn't even go personally to the king to tell the king, oh, my son has cursed you. He's a silly boy. He's cursed you. What can I do? He sent somebody giving the message because he was so embarrassed himself. And the king didn't want to go and visit the Brahmin to apologize. He said, well, he's already embarrassed enough. So this is the mentality of a devotee. He doesn't want to upset anyone. Let not the wise disturb the minds of the ignorant. And that's what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. Jesus Christ, he says the same thing. He said, let the dead bury the dead. So how does a dead man bury a dead man? It's not possible. But this is what Jesus is saying. Spiritually dead. Those who are spiritually dead, what can they do? What can they do? What are they capable of doing? Absolutely nothing. They're completely what's the word? Asara. Completely useless and good for nothing. Just like a bellows, just breathing and creating foul air and emitting all kinds of obnoxious materials that come out of the body. Out of every single pore of the body, these obnoxious substances come. It's made of the most horrific thing, and yet we invest so much time and energy and so-called love and devotion. And where does it end up? It all comes to naught. Prabhupada says, one should also get a clear understanding from him in submission and service and inquiries. A bona fide spiritual master is by nature very kind towards the disciple. Therefore, when the student is submissive and is always ready to render service, the reciprocation of knowledge and inquiries becomes perfect. So this is it. The reciprocation of knowledge and inquiries becomes absolutely perfect. So this is where the real nectar comes in, where we can actually gain advantage from this abominable life, absolutely abominable life. We can actually gain something from it. It's already a dead duck. It's already a waste of time, just by virtue of the fact of being born. It's a waste of time. But then when we connect with the Sampradaya, we connect with the Parampara, we connect with the spiritual world, no matter in what form or what way it comes to us, we just grab hold of it with both hands and hold on for dear life, no matter what obstacles come in our way. This wonderful purport from Prabhupada is saying, common man go to pilgrimage sites to get themselves purified of all sins. You're purified of all your sins automatically. That happens anyway. Of course, in the previous verses, there was some discussion that Prabhupada is explaining how it didn't, according to Rupa Goswami, the discussion didn't happen on the banks of the Ganga, but that's neither here nor there, because as Prabhupada explained in a previous purport, the king's palace was at Hastinapur, which is modern day Delhi, and the Yamuna flows through Delhi. So it's automatic, and Rupa Goswami confirms it, that it would have been, the conversations would have taken place on the banks of the Jamuna, because the Jamuna was closer to Krishna. The Ganga is kind of the awe and reverence coming from Vishnu. But Jamuna, he personally dipped his feet, his lotus feet, in the Yamuna. And of course, he danced on the head of Kaliya, and he banished Kaliya. Prabhupada said Kaliya was banished to Fiji. I don't know, I haven't personally seen Kaliya in Fiji, but Prabhupada says that. And all these wonderful pastimes, they took place on the banks of the Ganga, on the banks of the Yamuna. So naturally, we would feel inclined to accept Rupa Goswami's conclusion that these talks, they took place on the banks of the Yamuna. But it's neither here nor there. The verses say the Ganga, but the previous acharyas, they have their own discussions. It's a moot point. But the place of pilgrimage becomes overburdened with the sins of others. When such sages visit overburdened places of pilgrimage, they sanctify the places by their mere presence. So this is the beauty, this is the wonder of a devotee. A devotee sanctifies a place simply by his presence. Then the whole place becomes a place of pilgrimage. Just like when I was doing the interviews for the Lilamrita, covering the United States, Satrup Maharaj, he would tell me that whatever stories you get, you interview everybody. It doesn't make any difference who you interview, whether it's a devotee, a non-devotee, a politician, a street sweeper, a bus driver, whatever. Just get whatever stories you want, whatever you can. And we will edit them and we will transcribe them as they go along. Then we will decide what can go in the. So I just collected stories from everywhere. Didn't matter where it was. I interviewed all kinds of people. One devotee would tell me, "Oh yeah, there used to be a shopkeeper. He was at the end of the street there in San Francisco or Chicago or whatever it was." And he spoke to Prabhupada. You should try and see him. So I would find out where is that person, knock on the doors, get phone numbers, whatever. No mobile phones in those days. This was all done by pen and paper and just banging on doors, and you would dig people out. And there were so many stories came out like that. Wherever Prabhupada went, he touched people. He just touched people. And we were just mentioning how wherever the pure devotee goes, that is a place of pilgrimage. Prabhupada said, if I leave my body in New York, put my samadhi on 55th Street. So Prabhupada said, put my samadhi on top of the temple. This was Prabhupada's instruction. Prabhupada didn't care. Of course, he left his body in Vrindavan, and we know the whole Leela and the whole story about that. But this was Prabhupada's mood. Prabhupada just wanted to give and give and give and give. And of course, we can't be as selfless as a personality of Prabhupada's stature. But at least, little drops of water wear away the stone. As we try to advance in Krishna consciousness, we try to develop our spiritual awareness of just who we are, the journey of self-discovery, as we say, and the science of self-realization, then we would try, at least in theory, to become as selfless as possible. So as we can also place ourselves in the position of just giving and giving and giving without the taking. You know, the modern day attitude, I mean, the attitude since time immemorial, it's not modern day, what's in it for me? So what's in it for me is to just divorce ourselves from all these ideas of ahamameti and just go into the place of just wanting to give. Just like Prabhupada, everywhere he went. Why are you traveling? Why are you traveling? Prabhupada was asked this very basic question. Why do you bother? To save my disciples from the cycle of repeated birth and death. This is what Prabhupada, and you know, we may not be direct disciples of Srila Prabhupada, but we're coming in the mood of Prabhupada. We're coming in the mood of Prabhupada as our founder Acharya, and we're taking on the mood of our own spiritual masters, our own gurus, who imbibe Srila Prabhupada's mood, and then we pass that on to the best of we can. This is what is meant. It's not the formality of initiation and taking diksha and, you know, having a Brahman thread, and these are important. I'm not belittling this, but at the same time, the more we imbibe the mood of Prabhupada, the more we put ourselves into the position of we ourselves following in his footsteps. As as Mo used to say, Nyayo, we follow in the footsteps. You know, and what was the slogan from Kenyatta? Harambe. You know, we go for the nectar. We find out wherever it is, we grab it, hold on to it, and give it to others. And we will in turn, we will attract people to Krishna consciousness by our own example, by the way in which we ourselves follow in the footsteps of the previous acharyas. Of course, the devotee is humble, and the devotee is not thinking himself as an acharya, but the whole idea is to follow as closely as possible the mood of the previous acharyas, particularly in our case for all of us, no matter where we're coming from, particularly following in the mood of Srila Prabhupada. If we follow in the mood of Prabhupada, we can't go wrong. It's just not possible to go wrong. And then, do we? Are you sure? So we get the name of we get the, just following Jomo Kenyatta, we take the name of Haram Bey, and then we get the mercy of Hara. So this is a fact. This is a fact. You know, one of the I used to chant when I was in Tororo. I was in a difficult situation there. I lost all my investment, all my whole farm, everything like that, through all kinds of nonsense that was going on at the time. And I used to chant the Vishnu Sahasranam and the Shinga Kavach every day. One of the names, one of the 1,000 names of Lord Vishnu is Nyayo. I was like, oh, wow. I was like, wow, this is far out. And, you know, so these are not coming for no reason. Why is a country like Kenya, why is it blessed? Now, everybody chants. You take a pair of cartels that was there in Kenya recently, you take a pair of cartels, go out on the street, dozens and dozens of people are following. Everybody chants and dances and smiles, and everybody gives you a wonderful response to the chanting. So it's an absolutely amazing philosophy. Why were we plucked out of the material world? Why were we taken off this material cycle, this carousel of birth and death and old age and disease? Who knows? Who knows? What has Dublin, Ireland, got to do, you know, with the whole sampradaya of the whole disciplic succession coming from Lord? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. What does it deserve? I mean, it's one of the most demoniac places on the planet. And yet, so many great souls have come out of that, have come out of this kind of cesspool of, you know, birth and death and old age and disease, and dedicated their lives to Krishna. So it's we don't know what Agyata Sukriti. Yeah, it's a term we bandy about a bit, But we haven't got a clue. Why us? Why were we picked? But the fact remains is we were. We're now on the way towards Krishna. The journey of self-discovery is well on our way. So let's take advantage of it. Let's dive into this ocean of devotion. No more commotion and nothing but promotion. And then straight back to Godhead. That's the way we want to go. That's what we're here for. And we're here not only to save ourselves, we're here also to pass that on to others. This is our legacy. This was Prabhupada's dedication to his spiritual master. How long did it take Srila Prabhupada to get to the West? From 1922, when he first met his spiritual master, to 1966, 44 years when he founded ISKCON. And was the intervening years a waste? Of course not. Nothing was a waste. Absolutely nothing. Everything was a step towards Godhead. Everything was a step towards Krishna. And everything we do in our lives is in a similar way, because we're coming in the mood of Prabhupada. We're taking on the mercy that Srila Prabhupada is giving to us freely. And if we just utilize that, we don't want to be like the Kripana, who just goes out when it's raining and he needs a bucket of water. You go out with a fork. What is the point? Or what are you going to gather with a fork? So that's what we do. We're given this blessing. We're given this boon. We're in the same situation as all the sages and saints who are gathered around Shukadeva Goswami. We're not in the position of asking the questions, but the questions are asked on our behalf by Maharaj Parikshit. And then we take into consideration these questions, and we take into consideration the answers that are given. What a glorious way to spend our life. We're only on the first canto. Look at how many topics we have covered in this first canto. We're only on the first canto. We have so much more to cover. It's all nectar, every single word. Why does Prabhupada break it down? Every single verse is broken down word by word translation. Why? There's a purpose for it. So Prabhupada has given us this, and we have to take advantage. If we don't take advantage, we're big losers. We are big losers. And the more we pass it on to others, the more we give to others, the more we divorce ourselves of whatever anarthas that we have come across in our lives through so many different sojourns and so many different bodies. We just get rid of them. Just get rid of them and just dedicate our lives to Prabhupada's mission. We can't go wrong. It's just not possible to go wrong. We just follow. As Prabhupada used to say so many times, we simply have to stay alive. Just like the son, all he has to do to inherit the wealth of the father, simply stay alive. That's all we have to do. We just have to stay alive, gather the mercy that we've been given, and just put it into practice as best as we can. And we all have our own individual way of doing that. We all have our own individual way of speaking, of preaching. It's all individual to me as a person. And it's individual to you as persons. We don't have to follow somebody else's idea, follow this one's idea. We don't have to copy somebody. We just do it according to the Sampradaya. We follow in the disciplic succession. We engage to the best of our ability according to our own capacity. Everybody has something to offer. What did the sparrow have to offer Lord Ram? Putting the pieces of sand into the ocean? Absolutely nothing. Nothing. What? It's just laughable. Even the other monkeys were just laughing. But Lord Ram, he didn't laugh. He took it very seriously, you see. This sparrow is dedicating its energy to my service. So we can dedicate our little bit of energy to the service of Srila Prabhupada, to the service of the disciplic succession, to the service of Maharaj Parikshit, who literally gave his life so as we could enjoy the Srimad Bhagavatam. And we can participate in this Bhagavat Sapta every single day. Every single day, where it's open to us to enjoy. Well, when such sages visit overburdened places of pilgrimage, they sanctify the places by their presence. Therefore, the sages who came to meet Maharaj Parikshit were not very much interested in getting themselves purified like common men. So I know that I was very much interested in getting myself purified the first time I went to Mayapur and the first time I went to Vrindavan. That was the foremost thought in my mind, because I'm one of these common men. I'm not a sage, I'm not a saint, but they were not much interested in getting themselves purified like common men. So I would like to think, after so many years, perhaps my consciousness might have changed slightly, and I may not also be very much interested in getting myself purified like a common man. But I'm still a common man. So I'm very much interested in getting myself. But at the same time, there is some small inkling that if we rise onto a higher level, not simply interested in getting rid of our sinful activities, but actually taking on the mood of Mahaprabhu and engaging in the service of Krishna in the ultimate Govinda Prem. And this is what we're after. This is our sampradaya. This is the ultimate goal. For on the plea of taking a bath that they came to meet Maharaj Parikshit. See, this is a plea. Prabhupada is describing it as a plea. They were using it as an excuse. Oh, we go to this place of pilgrimage, we can take bath there, we can become purified. This was the external reason that they were giving. Prabhupada is describing it as such. But they wanted to come to meet Maharaj Parikshit because they could foresee that Srimad Bhagavatam would be spoken by Shukadeva Goswami. All of them wanted to take advantage of the great occasion. So this is the great occasion that happened 5,000 years ago. 5,000 years ago. And we are reliving this great occasion every single day in our lives. Every single day. In every single temple around the world, all over the planet, there's a Bhagavatam class going on. That means that practically speaking, there's a Bhagavatam class going on 24 hours a day. The planet is evolving, the sun is moving, there's day and night somewhere. Now the sun is set in Kenya, the sun is still risen in New Jersey, but it's about to set in England. So, everywhere it's going on. Everywhere. It's like the Bhagavatam is being recited. And who has created this? Who has designed this? Who has initiated this program? Srila Prabhupada. So look at the mercy. He's giving us Shukadeva Goswami. He's giving us Maharaj Parikshit 24 hours a day. These shlokas are being recited. The planet is in a total mess. That's a fact. It's a disaster everywhere you look, everywhere you turn. But then on the other side, there is this huge amount of mercy that is there for all of us to relish. All of us. We look at this internet thing. You can just tune in to any temple anywhere in the world and listen to a class practically 24 hours a day. There's no excuse for insomnia anymore. You just switch on your internet and there you are, clean. Yada yada hi dharmasya. It's everywhere. You can't escape it. And every single city center, practically speaking, anywhere in the world you go to, there's ting, 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 Hare Krishna. You can't avoid them. They're everywhere. I remember I took a Harinam party out in Mombasa, which gets a lot of tourists. This is many years ago, and there were some tourists going along the street. Germans, of course, they have to be German, and they're saying. And of course, I lived in Heidelberg for a couple of years. I speak a bit of German. And the wife said to the husband, "They're everywhere. You can't escape. They're everywhere." I was so happy to hear that. Yes, we're everywhere. We're taking over. You cannot escape. This is where we're out to get you. We come in the middle of the night. As Jesus says, you know not the day nor the night. I will come like it. You know not the day nor the hour, I will come like a thief in the night. So this is it. The Hare Krishnas are just taking over. You can't escape them. So, but this is not our mood. It's not our mood of threatening people or intimidating people. But of course, we're giving the mercy everywhere we go. The devotees, no matter how young or so-called inexperienced or just a new bhakta or whatever, it's irrelevant. So-called experienced devotee, senior devotee, junior devotee. If somebody's going out chanting, somebody's going out distributing books, somebody's going out and giving the nectar of the holy name in any way, shape, or form, that's it. That's it. You're connected. We're connected. We ask too much of ourselves. We demand too much. We think, oh, we have to go to this level and this level and this level. Yes, those levels are there, and those levels we should aspire for. And we should obviously want to advance more and more and more and go deeper and deeper and deeper into the science, the philosophy of Krishna consciousness. That is wonderful. And I would beg all the devotees who are listening to go as deep as you possibly can. But we're already doing it. We're already doing it. But the thing is, we don't give ourselves any credit. We need to give ourselves also credit. We also need to be encouraged in so many ways. And the least things that we do, the small, just walking out, I can see it here in England. Whenever I went to any of the programs in the last few weeks, just by going out the door, traveling on a bus or traveling on a train in a dhoti, bing, immediately everybody's looking. They're all looking at your tilak, they're looking at your shaved head. They don't know what they don't know what to make of it. You know, these people, they're everywhere. And but the thing is, just by being there, you're representing the Sampradaya. Just by being in a dhoti, by having tilak, by just existing, you're doing so much service. So much service. I remember the first time I met the devotees, I didn't know what they were. I thought they came from outer space. I didn't know who they were. I'd never seen anything like this in my life. It was like weird. A whole, Harinam party just came down the street in Ireland, some remote town in Ireland somewhere, at some Irish music festival where everybody was drunk and stoned, and including me, just laying around. What's that? And devotees are handing out sticks of incense, burning sticks of incense. And I was looking at the stick. I watched it burn all the way down to the end before I realized what was going on. Hare Krishna, what is this? So something just clicks from thousands and thousands and millions of years of journeying in this material world. Something just clicks. And we don't know if we're going to be the cause of that click in somebody else's mind, in somebody else's life. One devotee was telling me, an old Prabhupada disciple who was in the Gurukul, and he came through the Soho Street Temple. This is over 40 years ago. And I was running the restaurant, and I gave him a job in the restaurant. He just left Gurukul. He's just a young kid, completely burnt out with the whole experience. And I gave him a job, and he was making salad or something. And I gave him a small stipend every week for that. He was on his way to America. And he contacted me about 5 or 6 years ago. He found me through internet. He said, "Are you the Vidura from Ireland?" And I said to him, "Why do I owe you money?" And he said, "No." He said, "So many years ago, you gave me a job in the restaurant in Soho Street. You saved my life. You saved my life. I'd been burnt out by the whole Gurukul experience. And then I came through London. You gave me a job. You treated me like a human being. You gave me a little allowance. It was so pleasing. It really saved my spiritual life." And I was thinking to myself, not to praise myself, but I was thinking, that could have been me in a bad mood that day. I could have done the opposite. I could have barked at that person, or I could have said something that was offensive without even knowing. So we never know the effect that we're going to have on people and the way in which we're going to engage in people's lives. We just don't know. We can never tell. So here, Maharaj Parikshit wasn't expecting that by draping the snake around the Brahman's neck, that this boy was going to curse him, going to completely and totally transform his life, literally. and he's going to be dead in 7 days. This is not what he was thinking. This is the last thing on his mind. He was out hunting. He was out enjoying with his ministers and his soldiers and his army. And then suddenly, bang, it all changes. Same for us. The time and the place and the circumstances under which we encounter a devotee, and a small little thing, a small little gesture changes our life totally and completely. And then we suddenly find ourselves. I remember the first time I went out chanting on the street in Dublin, I didn't have a clue what I was doing. And I was a fairly well-known personality in Dublin. Dublin's a small town, there's only 1 million people. And I used to get up to all kinds of nonsense, organize all kinds of gigs and stuff like that. So people knew me. So now I'm on the street, shaved head, dhoti. At that time I was in saffron, which was even worse. And somebody showed me how to tie the dhoti. I didn't have a clue how to put on a dhoti. So I was out on the street and the dhoti started coming off in the middle of the kirtan on the street, the main street in Dublin. There I was with these cartels trying to hold my elbows on the dhoti and try to tick, 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 tick. And I didn't know what was going on. It was total hellish experience. But, Krishna just plucked me out of that whole material consciousness and put me into this, amazing world that us opened up. When I first opened the Bhagavatam, I was like, wow, this is something else. This is a completely different experience. Where does this come from? I want to know more and more and more and more. Till it gets to the point where, you just, without even knowing it, you're just absorbed in the philosophy. You're absorbed in the thinking and the thoughts of Krishna and the thoughts of Krishna consciousness. And before we know where we are, we're dancing in the spiritual world, and it's quite incredible. And we all have our own individual journey. We all have our own individual stories to relate and to tell and to, inspire each other and to help each other and to nurture each other. And this is where it really comes to the fore. How much of this am I doing for myself? How much of this am I doing to pass on this message and this mood of Srila Prabhupada to others? How much of this mood of Srila Prabhupada have I actually taken on, or am I doing it for some ulterior motive? I question myself every day, every single day. And I try, at least consciously. Of course, it slips. We all slip. And we do, or we say something that just hurts people and just upsets people. And it just happens. But that verse, Apichet, that is quoted so often, that even if engaged in the most abominable actions, devotee is still to be considered saintly. But we can't abuse that either. We have to just go along and go with the flow and go with the sadhana and go with the whole mood of the sampradaya. It's just the process of sadhana bhakti. Sadhana bhakti. It's step by step by step. We can't take 2 steps at a time. We take 1 step at a time. It's not that we're limited. We're totally unlimited to what we can do. Completely unlimited, because we're connected with the unlimited. But our consciousness limits our ability to be able to put the unlimited into practice. So simply all we have to do is connect more and more and more. Just like Prabhupada gives this simple example, as soon as the fan is connected to the power source, it can turn. You disconnect it from the power source. The electricity is the same electricity for providing the heat in winter, the same electricity for providing the cooling in summer. It's the same power. It depends on the way in which we use it. So it's the same philosophy for all of us. It depends on the way in which we individually and collectively engage with the process of this philosophy. And it's wonderful. It's an amazing life. What else is there? Is there anything else that can be better, even from a material point of view? There's nothing. Nothing can compare. Absolutely nothing. So let's go for it. At that time, all the great minds and thinkers, and it's today the same. It applies to today. At that time, all the great minds and thinkers, accompanied by their disciples, this is important, accompanied by their disciples, and sages who could verily sanctify a place of pilgrimage just by their presence, arrived there on the plea of making a pilgrim's journey. So we've all arrived here at the lotus feet of Srila Prabhupada on the plea of making a pilgrim's journey. Let us make the most of it and put everything in our lives into the practice of surrendering to Prabhupada's mission, surrendering to Prabhupada's mood, and do everything we can possibly can to serve Srila Prabhupada's mission. Jai, thank you very much. If there are any questions or comments, please, I'll try to take them now. Thank you. Haribol.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji, for this wonderful session. We have almost exhausted our time. We just have 2 more minutes. But yes, Madan Gopal, Prabhuji, kindly ask your question or comment. Hare Krishna.
So thank you very much, Vidya Prabhu. Wonderful memories.
Thank
And
you.
I just wanted to make a comment just to testify on the power of giving this association. I remember this around 1991 maybe, and we were doing a Bhagavad Gita exhibition at the Sarit Center in Nairobi. And we were on the way from the temple to the Sarit Center Mall. And then there's like on the way, there's this like lotus building, like a building the shape of some lotus petals and stuff like that. And I looked at it and I kind of knew who they were. I was with the devotees and I said, yeah, there's a beautiful building, but the philosophy is very bogus. And then I felt self-conscious that no, I should not be so, rude and like nasty about other Hindu groups and things like that. But Vidura Prabhu, you patted my head. He said, good boy, good boy. You're reading Prabhupada's books, So then I felt good right away that no, it's not a bad thing to criticize the Mayavadis, They don't know what they're doing. So you gave me so much encouragement, even in that, and that I still remember it. I mean, that was like 33 years ago. I still remember it. I was only 14. But the kind of encouragement that, you and other devotees have given, it goes a long way.
Yes.
I think that even
Yes.
the smallest gestures, you never know how much they'll inspire somebody. I mean, the world is so discouraging that, we should only be giving encouragement at every step.
Yes. Yes.
So I
true.
just want to appreciate that, Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Haribol.
Very much for that contribution, Prabhuji. Any more questions or comments? There are no questions or comments. I'll hand over to Part Prabhu. Prabhu, can you please take over?
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Prabhuji, for a nice class.
Hi, Prabhuji. Haribol.
Always Vidura Prabhuji giving so many things, so many about the Prabhupada's philosophy, Prabhupada Lilamrita in different country, different center, and also Prabhupada's intimate disciples in that time, how is doing, like Prabhuji is giving so many wonderful experience, also his experience, how to he come first time from Ireland to Vrindavan and taking a deep, holy deep in the Gangas. So thank you very much, Prabhuji, for nice class. Also, thank you very much, His Grace Madan Gopal Prabhuji, you are here. And also all the devotees who is assembling here in this Bhagavatam Katha. So I request everyone, please unmute yourself and chant Hare Krishna mantra for glorification of His Grace. Vidura Prabhuji, please join. Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare.
Prabhupada ki jai.
Hari Bol.
Jai.
Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Jai, everybody. Hare Krishna.
Krishna
Good
Prabhu.
night.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare